Hey everyone, welcome to Age of Reason. Today we have a guest on the show, but before I introduce him back, I just want to say a big congratulations to SpaceX because what they achieved on Sunday was absolutely monumental, and it could be one of those huge launches, really, that propels the nation and other nations as well into the 21st century properly. So I think it's going to start a kind of race, not just between America and Russia, but also China's going to jump in there, Japan's going to jump in there, India as well, and other countries. And I think it's good because we can't rely on governmental agencies anymore since they don't have enough money to do it. So the only way to accelerate the pace is to go through a commercial space program. So I'm very happy that they did it. And of course, I look forward that they come back home safely later on. So without further ado, I introduce again Jeremy Deschner. So it's been a long time, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm doing fine, man. Thank you for having me back on.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. Well, why don't we jump right into the topics here? And I think you wanted to talk a little bit about the police brutality in the States.
Okay, so police brutality is not something new. It happens to a lot of people. I've seen it happen firsthand. A friend of mine got grabbed by the throat by a cop when we were just high school kids, and we learned from a very young age that growing up in Dallas that you just didn't mess around with cops. You don't want to be around them if possible, but if you have to have some kind of interaction with them, if they pull you over or something, the key is you want to survive. So you put your hands on the steering wheel. You don't make any stupid remarks, but no matter what precautions you take, there's still going to be people out there who are just racist assholes. And that seems to have been the case this time. And when they put Floyd on the ground and they put their knee on his neck, it's not only holding his head to the ground, which is painful enough, but you have, as a human being, you have these two arteries that run through your neck. And if somebody pushes on those, like I think when you're little kids, you play this game in school where you push on someone's neck and they pass out. It's a very dangerous game to play. But when a full-grown man has his weight down on your neck, right there across that artery, no more blood gets to your brain. It's like having a mini stroke, and that's eventually what killed him.
A couple of years ago, because I was looking for other hosts for the show, and so I got this email from this one insane lady that lives in Japan, and she wrote me this very long ass email with like really racist stuff in there, and of course she denies the Holocaust, etc. And I mean, I was like really surprised because you live in Japan, right? So it must be really hell for you to be here and be surrounded by. Let's be honest. These people, they think of Japanese people like yellow monkeys. Okay, let's just be kind of clear about that. Um, it sucks and it's disgusting, and it's just like in America we have white people who think black people are monkeys as well. We just have to say that.
It's unfortunate because it's systemic, and it's also passed down from generation to generation. And what happens is you see a lot of these people who are like that. They stay in their own little groups. They don't venture outside. They probably live 50 miles or within 50 miles of where they were born.
Yeah, yeah.
And they don't have any outside influence. You and I are very fortunate. We've lived all over the world in different countries, exposed to different languages, different ways of thinking, different cultures, and I think overall it makes us more tolerant. But unfortunately, there's some people, like I said before, who are just like in their small group and never get outside of that group.
Yeah, I think it's also like interesting because in America we have just a lot of issues right now. We have, 75% of workers who live paycheck to paycheck. We have people who can't afford a $1,000 surgery, who don't take the ambulance to go to the hospital because one ambulance ride costs 2,000 bucks. It's just like a mountain of problems and they're not getting fixed.
Yeah, let's go back to what you were talking about, like the people who live like paycheck to paycheck and who can't afford to go to the doctor, so they'll sit there with like really terrible diseases or wait until they're almost dying and have to go, then have to go to the hospital. Then the bill's probably going to be even more because they might need a surgery now that they could have avoided. But yeah, that's unfortunately the way it goes in the States sometimes. People are just barely getting by. So I mean, what do you do? What's the answer to that? And I don't have all the answers. I don't think you have all the answers. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the only, well, let's talk about presidential candidates for a while. I think the only presidential candidate that was proposing like real change was Bernie Sanders. But the first time he was buried by the DNC, and the second time I feel like the people turned their back on him. And, there are many reasons for that. I think one reason is that he built his entire movement as anti-establishment. So he was saying like the establishment is bad, is evil. Hey, here comes Joe Biden from the establishment. My good friend, come here, let's give a hug. And that's just the worst thing you can do. I really like. I'm angry at the people who advised him because they're just terrible people, I think, and they don't know how to win a campaign.
Right. Well, you can look at the Democratic Party now, and I wouldn't say I was either Democratic or Republican. I'm kind of just like let the best guy win, right? But look at the party right now. They're just trying to grab power. They don't really care about like winning a campaign. First, you have Trump, who's an incumbent. He's also an actor.
Yeah.
He was a television personality. He knows how to act in front of a camera. This is the same thing that happened, back in the day between Nixon and Kennedy. Kennedy knew how to be in front of a camera, knew how to appeal to people in his audience. And it's the same thing is going to happen now. You got Joe Biden, who's basically dying on camera.
Yeah.
He's having mental collapse. He's having lots of issues, and he's going up against Trump, who's always taken the path of like making fun of his opponents, giving them silly nicknames, making them look stupid to like the average person, and he's just falling right for that trap. And like you said before, Bernie Sanders got screwed over by the DNC. They didn't want him to run. He could have beat Trump both times now in the election before. And what they're doing now is they're just putting up people like Biden, who I can't in an honest capacity, I can't vote for Biden, man, because that guy's not all there mentally.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying the exact same thing. It's just, he's there, but we're just not going to vote for him. And I also disagree with the thing that if you don't vote for Biden, then it's a vote for Trump. That's just not true. If you don't vote, that's a zero. That's it. It's very simple.
Well, what happens is that the election gets decided by a very small amount of people.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see Trump win again, but I can tell you what's going to happen. He's going to win again because Joe Biden doesn't give me confidence, right? When we voted for Obama, Obama had everything going against him, right? He was a black man, and there'd never been a black president before, and he was a new guy, relatively new, and he was going out there, and people were doing like the birther movement against him and all this crazy shit. But the one thing he did that helped him win is he inspired us with confidence. Like every time, like if you look back on the Obama administration, which I have a lot of problems with because I don't think everything he did was great, but the one thing he could do was he could talk to people. And that's where Trump fucks up, because Trump, he says the wrong thing at the wrong time and doesn't stand by what he says, and then tries to lie about it when we have technology where we can where every second of his life is basically on tape, and everybody who's like an audio file or a video file can go through every second of every speech and come back and say, bro, you did say that.
Right.
And instead of taking responsibility and saying, "Oh, I've changed my mind," or "I've learned some more since then," or "I was wrong then, but here's what I think now," he doesn't do that. He just goes, "No, it wasn't me. Oh, I didn't do that." And then everyone's like, "Man, you're just like a big toddler."
Yeah.
You don't inspire any confidence in us at all.
Absolutely. No, I think the interesting thing is that I think Trump is there to really put in a libertarian agenda, because remember that libertarians, they are against the big government. They hate government. So in that sense, Trump is doing a great job at destroying the little confidence that people have in Congress and the Senate anyway.
If the DNC or the Democratic Party were serious about winning an election, I have 3 steps that could do it. 1, you want a veteran, whether it's a man or a woman, doesn't matter, a veteran who's actually served in the military. 2, that person needs to want to legalize marijuana for the entire country, because Canada already did, and other countries have already done it, and they're making more money, on that economy.
Yeah.
And building jobs and everything. We're still behind in that. And number 3 is they need to make school more affordable for everyone. Like Joe Rogan says, you want to get rid of the losers, man. Don't make any possibility for an excuse not to go to school and not to become educated. Oh, it's too expensive. Not anymore, pal. It's not going to be too expensive for anyone. Anyone can go. Yeah, that those three things would make like a shoe in for a presidential election.
Yeah, and I also want to add one more is universal healthcare. Again, we're the only country on earth, developed country supposedly. We call them ourselves first world country, but we can't guarantee healthcare to the people. So
Right. To me, that's mind blowing. I hate the fact that some elderly people or some disabled people have to choose between eating and buying medicine. That should never be the case.
yeah, for sure. And speaking about health, that's actually a good segue because we suffered a lot from the COVID-19 thing. So in Japan, in our case, we've actually been in the situation since January. So for us, it's been 5 months. It started off with a major fiasco, in my opinion, with that fucking Princess Diamond cruise ship, which makes me hate cruise ships a lot now, much more than before. You're in a tight compartment. You have many, like hundreds of people. Apparently, the rules were not respected. People were just walking everywhere, infecting like the crew, etc. So it started off bad, but I'm kind of happy that they somehow got a handle of the situation. And for whatever reason, just Japan got lucky. For whatever reason, we just did not get the rates of infection that, China got or definitely the US. So speaking about Trump again, since he doesn't believe in science, he basically said, "Oh, it's not real. It's far away. It's never going to come here." Italy was in the same situation. Actually, the Italians were in the same situation. The Belgians were in the same boat. The French also missed the boat. It started off as this distant threat, which I always can use now because I say, look, this is the same with climate change. We say the exact same things. It's a distant threat. It's not going to come here, and then it hits us like an uppercut. So I just want to hear your reaction. What did you think about how Trump handled the situation? Obviously horribly, but what do you think?
He appealed to his people, man, because like, his people are the fundamental Christians. And what did he do? He assigned Mike Pence, and Mike Pence has zero medical expertise and zero science background. The guy ran a Pray the Gay Away seminar, for years, and he thinks that saying magical spells or prayers is going to remove a virus. Well, if that was the case, don't you think any of the people that died prayed?
Right.
Some of them had to have at least tried anything to not die. So that just shows you that approach was ridiculous. Instead of like funding like more research at a university or something like pitching in with the WHO and saying let's solve this not as an American or as a person who lives in the United States, but as a human being, let's solve this problem and give everyone the medicine. They didn't do all that, and they just waited for so long. And then I have my issues with Japan as well, because Japan tried to save their face and tried to save the Olympic Games all the way up until the end.
Yeah.
That had to have cost some lives.
I agree,
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but anytime that you don't respect the people by telling them here's what's coming down the pipeline, you are risking lives, and some people will have to pay the ultimate price for that.
Yeah, I agree. And one issue I had is that for a very long time, even some of my friends, they kept playing soccer. So that means meeting together and playing together in the middle of a pandemic. And people with their kids taking them to the restaurants and proudly showing them off on, social media. To me, I was just horrified, really, that they're doing that. But it seems that they live in a universe where their actions just don't matter. Just on this topic, I found an interesting quote by Chris Hedges. He's a writer. He's a famous writer. He wrote a book, which unfortunately I cut off the title, but I'll show it up later. The quote says, "The cult of self dominates our cultural landscape. This cult has within it the classical traits of psychopaths: superficial charm, grandiosity, and self-importance, a need for constant stimulation, a penchant for lying, deception, and manipulation, and the inability to feel remorse or guilt. This is, of course, the ethic promoted by corporations." I just thought it's very interesting quote, because it seems that today we have Instagram, we have TikTok, and all this nonsense, really, and just people using it to kind of create this fake celebrity person that, let's face it, they're not. They're nobody, really.
Yeah, back a few years ago, people were doing planking and stuff like that,
Yeah,
like doing
yeah.
dangerous places. So that's nothing. That's nothing really new. But man, what's the price of fame, right? Like, would you really want to risk your life and just to be famous on TikTok?
Yeah, I think one guy in Singapore or something, he died because he was working on the ledge of a tall building uh, during one of those shows and he fell down.
Yeah, there was a couple guys. There was another guy who was hanging off the edge of a building. I think he might have been a Russian dude, and he did like a pull up one with two hands, and then he did it with one hand, and then he tried to do another one with one hand, and he couldn't pull himself up, and his fingers just slipped and he went
Yeah.
yeah, straight down. And these guys are not we're not joking around. They get up high, and on these towers and these skyscrapers. Let's talk about like you mentioned before that there was no other candidates that had like a universal health care and stuff like that in mind, except for Bernie. You're missing one guy. Remember Andrew Yang?
I do, yeah.
He wanted to talk about universal income, like
Yes.
basic universal income. So that basically, what that is that guarantees you a certain level of money every month.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so like if you want to let's say it's $2,000, that means that you're always going to have $2,000 regardless of what you do in your work. And then of course if you want to work and you want to make your regular salary plus $2,000, that's great. But the idea behind that was like it also opens up areas in life like for art, or if you're willing to live on $2,000 a month, you can be an artist, you could be a musician, you could be a comedian, whatever you want to do. It kind of opens you up there. But one thing that they overlooked is people are going to know that you have that $2,000 a month, so everything's automatically going to be $2,000. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
your rent's never going to be $500 a month. No, it's automatically $2,000 a month because they know they can get that or more, right? So even if you did give us like universal basic income, someone's going to find a way to trick that system so they can get more money out of it.
Yeah, well, I think the UBI, he basically was proposing $1,000 every month. So that was kind of the basic thing. And you're right, people are gonna screw that system, but that's why we have to not let those people screw the system. We have basically in America, we don't have democracy. We don't really have capitalism. We have crony capitalism. It's people who can be bought, politicians who are in the pocket of corporations. And that's the problem. I mean, corruption is a problem everywhere, unfortunately. But in America, it's kind of like in your face corruption. We see it every day.
Well, the first step to get rid of that will be imposing term limits.
Yes.
But you know who votes on term limits? The people who are in office.
Right.
So they're never gonna vote themselves out of a job,
Right.
especially a job where they don't have to do anything.
Speaking about art, I just want to plug in my book again. So, Beyond the Obscure, please get it. It's a great kind of film noir type story, psychological thriller, horror. You're right. I think it's not just a thing for America, but I think it would be a great idea in every country. And what you find is that they tried it in Toronto, I think, for about 2 years. They had a pilot program, and guess who canceled it? Of course, the conservatives.
Even Democrats in America aren't the same as Democrats were 50 years ago.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always the changing thing, man. Dude, Trump was a Democrat until he wanted to run for president again, right? Then
Yeah.
he became a Republican. It's kind of like you just kind of pick a team, man. You don't really. And if you think that Trump believes 100% in the Republican Party and 100% in like what the evangelical Christians are teaching, he's pulling the wool over your eyes, man. That's what he does. He's faking you out.
I just want to add one more thing. It's not just the term limits, but we also have to absolutely get rid of Citizens United. This rule that basically anybody, even abroad, like Putin can give direct money to Trump, for example, and that we have to stop. But of course, as you say, those people are getting money from that, so they're not going to do it.
They're not going to do anything against their own self-interest, and there's no way.
A couple of years ago, I was saying that all those people, like in the government, they actually have investments in fossil fuel companies. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them. So, of course, they're not going to vote for the Green New Deal and things like that.
Everybody in Congress is a fucking millionaire, man.
Yeah.
They don't represent me. I'm not a millionaire by any stretch of the meaning, right?
Yes, same here.
Yeah, so they don't represent me. Those guys are multi-millionaires, and some of them, they're like almost like Kenneth Copeland, man. That they have like private jets and they have a big mansion, and they're just taking money from people, and they're not really doing what they're supposed to do.
I just want to get your opinion on one thing. So, for example, in Germany, people say that look at Germany, they pay very high taxes, the electricity costs are pretty high. But I think that they're missing the bigger picture is that Germany has universal healthcare. They have free college systems. So in a way, you pay a little bit more in taxes, but look at the benefits you get. I mean, right now in the States, we have people coming out of forget it. They don't even finish college because they can't afford it. And people who do finish, they come out with this mountain of debt on their back that they spent the next 20, 30 years paying back.
Right. So the thing is, like you said, they come out with a huge debt, college loans, right?
Yeah,
Like over $100,000. Like if you get a master's degree, you're looking at over 100 grand easily, and it gets more expensive the better, like the higher level your school is, right?
sure, yeah.
Right. It's like if you're in an Ivy League or versus like a state-run school. But the point is, you get out of there and like you're strapped down. You don't have any experience. You're going to be taking the first job that you can get your hands on, and you'll be lucky if it's in your field, right? Because I mean, I work in IT, but my background in college and stuff was all business, and so I basically don't use anything that I learned there. But I learned, through Microsoft courses or through just doing like projects, right? That's basically how I make a living. So.
Why is it so bad to have an education? We really seem to have this movement going on, and I don't know what you think about it.
Well, of course, education is key to success in life, and I think that we need to look at how we're educating people. Because, like, if you take like the British version of education or in the American version, they're completely different, man. Like the American version will give you like a well-rounded, like if you're going to study engineering, but you still need to study, some electives like history, and you need to study some other things that aren't focused on your main objective of being an engineer. But in England, if you want to be an engineer, you just focus on math and science and everything that goes into being an engineer. I think there needs to be a level or a level playing field, right? And we need to actually look at how we're educating people. And then also, I agree that college is important, but it's not for everyone. We also need to have trades like plumbers. We need to have journeyman electricians. We need to have all these guys as well. So that those kind of things should be actually taught, maybe even in high school or post high school, courses where people would have access to them. Maybe you don't want to be a doctor. Maybe you're happy being a car mechanic or a guy who fixes air conditioners.
Yeah.
Those options should be available to people, but I don't think they are in every place right now.
I actually went to an international school, so I was privileged enough to see both the UK system and the US system. And basically, all the UK students, they went for what's called A levels, and the Americans went for GCSE. And I have to say, just looking at both of them, the GCSE looked a lot harder than the A levels. So there's that.
Right. Well, I spent a little time, not myself, but I mean, I was there. I was spent a little time working with the Oxford University, and I spent some time over there, and I saw the British version of that, and they've actually got really elite schools where you have one-to-one teacher and student. It's like they'll have 300 professors on staff and 300 students.
Yeah.
Like Pembroke is like that. And then you basically follow that professor around, and he guides you and teaches you everything you need to know about, for example, I keep using my example of engineer, but how to become an engineer and what to do in engineering, right? And I thought that was quite interesting.
It's interesting that despite all the problems that America has right now, we still have successful companies like SpaceX who basically lead the world, not just the country, but the entire world in development. I mean, there's nobody else out there who can land the rockets, for example. So that means nobody has the reusable capability. So, I mean, how do you kind of put the two and two together? We have these huge issues. We have poverty in the nation. We have, starving children, etc. And at the same time, we have kind of state-of-the-art capability. How does that both coexist?
Well, I mean, it's like two sides of the same coin, isn't it? It's like opposite of each other. What we need to do is we need to make sure that everyone can contribute and everyone can do their part. It's you got to look at it like this. I couldn't build a rocket and and then make sure it relands, but I might be really, really awesome at designing video games.
Sure.
So there needs to be a path for each person to take based on what their talents are, and then let them assess that. Let them take tests like aptitude tests. Even in the military, they do that. They give you like an aptitude test to help you decide what job you're going to get in the military, and then based on your score, they're like, people with your personality and with your score are more successful in these careers. Why don't you choose from one of them? I think we should probably have that in education as well, and then focus on what people are good at. If you're awesome at math and you're awesome at electronics, then why not go into rocketry or robotics or something like that? But if you're an artist and you're good at writing books or you like to paint, why not let that person be focused on that?
So on the last show, it was a restart show. It was my first show in a half a year, but now I'm trying to get back into it. I mentioned that basically we have two giant threats to the planet right now. Number one, and that actually comes from Noam Chomsky. He said, number one, we have nuclear war, and number two is climate change. I would put in there a superbug as well, because it's very possible that, COVID-19 is bad, but it's really not as horrible as it could be. But so nuclear war, I think people have to be very dumb, okay? But climate change is a very real thing. So I personally, I do my show mostly about climate change now, because I strongly feel that this is the one issue that can really wipe out not just millions of us, but billions of us through various effects. What do you personally know about climate change? And I'm not trying to look at you, kind of look down on you here, because it's okay if you don't know anything on the topic, but I just want to know personally, what do you know about the topic and how serious do you think it is?
Oh, very serious. My understanding mostly comes from the oceans, because I was a scuba diver for 30 years, and I saw a lot of changes. You see a lot of like places where the coral is dying off and it's getting bleached white, and that is like for me it was right in front of my eyes, because I remember going to places like I said 30 years ago and diving, and then coming back and all that life that was there before is all gone or dead. It's just like bleached white coral. You can look at the Great Barrier Reef and see that happening now. You can look at places like even in Japan, where in Japan they have a lot of soft corals and stuff like that because of the interesting way that the water temperatures work here. You get like the hot water coming in off the Philippines and the cold water coming in from another direction. So you get like a good mixture of hot and cold, tropical and cold water fish and life. But a lot of that's changing, even in the last 10 years that I've seen. And it's quite shocking. And I've heard that we are getting to the point of no return if we haven't reached it already. And I think that as government leaders, since we're talking about presidents and Democratic parties here in Japan, I think that needs to be taking a higher priority on people's lists and on government's lists. And we need to I don't know, maybe supplement people for getting off of fossil fuels, making carbon taxes a thing here in Japan. I don't know if it is yet or not. That's kind of outside of my wheelhouse. But yeah, climate change is definitely something we need to focus on. And think about it. It's a very basic thing. If you kill the planet you're living on, you can't live on the planet.
That's very correct. Yes.
Right. So it's not really hard to understand. So we need to figure out ways of using sustainable energy and crops that we can, keep growing and keep people fed. But yeah, it's something I think about often as well. And also, I think it's one thing to point out a problem, and it's another thing to come in with solutions. Everyone knows the why. Oh, we should do this. We should do this. Tell me how. Tell me how to do it. What can I do? Yeah, tell me what can we invent? What do we need to to get to the next level, the next step? Everyone says a how, but they need to be thinking about. Everyone says a why, but they need to think about a how.
Yeah. Well, I think when I talked to Professor Cook about it, well, Dr. Cook, I should say, he said basically, of course, things matter, like changing light bulbs or getting an electric vehicle, which I both have. By the way, we basically don't drive anymore. Really, we drive once a week, and basically, even if you drive every day of the month, you only have to refuel once instead of once every week, how it was before. So I mean, those changes do matter. Those small changes accumulate, but really, what we have to do is start fighting the industry, and start telling the government, look, stop giving subsidies to fossil fuel companies, and instead subsidize the green air economy sector, which has more jobs anyway. There's more jobs in solar than in coal. So
Right. And I think the people we have in power now, they're used to a certain way of life. Because I think everybody who's in power now was probably born before World War II or slightly after World War II. Because if you look at the age of the people in Congress, those guys are all about manufacturing jobs and
yeah,
making cars in America again. Those are things that we don't need to do. But like you were leading to, why not focus on batteries? Why not focus on battery technology or reusable rockets or stuff like that? Things that we can make a positive change with, right?
yeah. I just wanted to ask you one last question, and this is actually a gaming question since we both played that game. So the Detroit Become Human, I thought it's an awesome game. Just beyond the graphics, which of course looked incredible, the story was incredibly interesting. I think it's a very good idea to take Detroit, which right now, let's be honest, it's kind of a dump. I mean, largely, it was a car manufacturing center. Now it's not. So why not rebuild that city with something new like androids, which I think it's a brilliant idea. Why not just energize these economy sectors like that?
Right. Well, that'd be great. I would love to see something like the movie iRobot, or like the video game Detroit. I'd love to see things that could help out people who are disabled or walk dogs or walk around picking up trash. That'd be cool. But the thing is, you got to find a way to manufacture it and make it affordable enough for people to purchase it.
Yeah.
Of course, Tesla's a fantastic car. It's awesome. Can everyone afford a Tesla? Not at the moment. You have to be in a pretty good circumstance to be able to afford one, right? So even though it's the greatest technology, if people can't afford it, and it's out of their reach.
Specifically talking about AI, I know that some people are kind of ringing the alarm bells on it. They're saying, "Oh my God, the AI is going to overtake the world and kill everybody." I'm personally not in that boat whatsoever. I think it's just a kind of ridiculous, silly thought, fear mongering.
Well, think about how much our lives have changed since 2007 when we got our first iPhones, right? Before 2007, like let's say people who lived all the way up to the year 2000, they wouldn't have any idea how to function in the world today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So after we have affordable androids like you're talking about, where that people can actually use them for helping disabled people, doing remedial tasks, cleaning houses and whatnot. Once that becomes the norm, I think people will not be able to live without it anymore. It's just finding that balance between the cost and the benefit
Sure.
of that technology.
And specifically talking about AI, do you see it as a threat, or do you see it as something that kind of natural evolution?
I would say I would go with natural evolution. I'm not threatened by technology. I embrace it. I look forward to it. I want cooler stuff. You can't see my desk around right now because I'm using a backdrop. But I've got, to the left of me, I've got VR glasses. I've got my PlayStation 4. I love those kind of things, man. Those are all things that wouldn't have been possible 10 years ago.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's amazing. The fact that you and I, we live in the same country, but we're shoot at least an hour apart by train. But we can sit here and have a TV show, live on the internet. That's all technology. That stuff's amazing to me.
All right. Good. I think that's all I wanted to get today. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that's right. I'm looking forward to seeing more of your shows. I want people to come out and get your book. Hey, is it possible for people to get an autograph copy of your book?
Oh man, I think at the moment it's very difficult because it comes straight from Amazon, so
Okay.
that's all you get. But
All right. Well, think about it. Well, maybe there's some technology we can use, like
Right.
should let people get autographed versions.
And so the next show will be on Friday. And well, what I'm planning is to do a show about Roscosmos. It's the Russian space agency. And right now, of course, the success of SpaceX was kind of like a big kick in the teeth to Roscosmos. It's interesting because in Russia, of course, we have a strong man in power. So Putin is basically a dictator, okay? So Trump right now is really trying to be a dictator as well. So we see this rise in many other countries like Brazil as well. We have, well, he's basically a fascist. He doesn't even hide it. What do you think about this thing that's going on right now? I mean, why are all these movements rising up to power?
Um, I think we let it happen. I think if you give people unlimited power, they're never going to give it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Look at Star Wars, man. I always bring it back to Star Wars. Emperor Palpatine, he said, "Oh, I'm just taking these rights until the Clone Wars finish, and then after that, he's established the Empire." And that's a movie and that's fiction, but real life can play out like that. You start giving these guys unlimited power. Today or yesterday, Trump said he was going to take active duty military people and put them loose on some of the protesters inside the United States.
Yeah.
That's for me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I thought, this is fake. This has got to be a fake, but it's not fake. It's real. He really said that.
Tupac Shakur said it. We basically have to look at each other like a brother and not as a stranger, as a foreigner. These type of very discriminatory terms, we really have to look past that. I mean, we're in the 21st century, for God's sake.
Right. I can't believe that we're talking about racism this far down the line, right? Yeah. And also, the more people you know, the more stuff you know, the more cultures you know, it just makes life that much more interesting. And then if someone tells you something, ask them how they got that knowledge. Where did that come from?
True.
Don't just accept it, Ask questions.
All right. That's actually a fantastic note to end on. All right. So thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for being on.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. And so for the rest of you, I'll see you on Friday. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.